I think we can all agree that this Cop28, is actually different. And it has already made history. Together, we have built an unprecedented level of momentum. We have achieved consensus on the first day with the loss and damage, and I believe that we can do it again. In the next 5 days, we have the potential to deliver a paradigm shift that can define global economies and our future, and put the most vulnerable in the center of climate action. And as a result of your efforts, Cop28 is already sending a clear signal that all of us, small and large, can make a difference. Let us build on that success for an unprecedented outcome in the global stocktake decision and all other mandates. Together, we have surprised the doubters and inspired the optimists. And by working together, we can help sustain our planet. I believe this spirit of unity and solidarity will get us over the line. Let this COP be remembered as the collective COP, a COP that changed the game, a COP that did transform how COPs are conducted. Let's please get this job done.
This week, I don't want to see diversions and political tactics that hold climate ambition hostage. I urge all ministers and negotiators to think outside the box. Climate action needs that paradigm shift. Yes, 8 billion people are now on the front lines, but bold climate action is also a momentous opportunity, an opportunity for more jobs, healthier economic growth, less pollution, and better human health. This is what billions of people in every country want. And bolder climate action is the chance for governments to deliver it here in Dubai. Every country is hungry for the next source of stable economic growth. Billions of households are struggling to put bread on the table. So bold climate action can be the meal ticket for the 21st century. This week in Dubai, all countries must cooperate to put it in reach. I thank you.
We are here to negotiate a deal. We're here to talk and to listen, to persuade and to be persuaded. But we need to remember one thing. We cannot negotiate with nature. The climate cannot compromise. No well-meaning words will change a single thing unless we act, unless we decide to make a real difference. The presidency has done a fantastic job preparing this COP. Dr. Sultan has set the bar high, but the presidency cannot create results on their own. All parties need to engage. All parties need to step up. I'm proud to be a part of this able, idealistic, and competent team. I want to thank you, Dr. Sultan, for trusting us with this important task. We will do our utmost to facilitate the deliberation in the coming days as best possible. The global stocktake is the engine of the Paris Agreement. Its purpose is to ensure that we meet our targets. Sadly, our starting point is clear. We are not on track. This week may be our last opportunity to bring us on course to keeping 1.5 alive, with more ambitious and just climate action, with more renewable energy and energy efficiency, replacing fossil fuels. On course on adaptation, on course to mobilize the financing that is necessary. It needs to be a just and balanced. It needs to be a just and balanced result with equity. After hours and hours of conversations with parties, I really mean it when I say, I believe we can do this. I believe it is possible. Barbara and I will start consultations with groups already today. There will be a hot session on the third text that will be circulated shortly. So, we cannot negotiate with nature, but we can negotiate with each other. No argument, no political or economic reasoning will stop the temperature from increasing. Words on a piece of paper will not in itself save the climate. But if we agree, if we decide, we can make these words carry real weight. Make them instigate real change. Make a real difference. So friends, let's do it. Let's make this COP the most important COP since Paris. Thank you.
Can you assure the world that is watching us that there will be targets on oil, coal and gas in the final text of this COP?
What I can guarantee you is that I will continue to stay laser focused on keeping 1.5 within reach. That is my North Star. And my job, the way I understand it, is to keep that North Star shining every step of the way. That I promise and I commit, I will maintain. Having said that, we need a collective decision. And this decision will come from the floor, from all parties, represented by 198 members. My job is to ensure that I recognize the process, respect the process, enable them, facilitate the process, and of course, support throughout. One thing I've repeatedly said is that the phase down of fossil fuel is inevitable, it is essential, and a decline of fossil fuel consumption is going to happen for sure over time. While I also say this, I must remind you that we have all along embraced the energy transition like no other. Having said that, we have always been practical, realistic, pragmatic, and results-driven. We must be fair, we must be just, we must be equitable, we must be orderly and responsible when it comes to the energy transition. So, in short, I have promised that I will facilitate and enable the maximum and most ambitious outcome, and I will help all parties achieve the consensus required.
Thank you, Dr. Sultan.
Justin Rowlatt from the BBC. You've talked a lot about your bold ambitions for this conference, Dr. Sultan, and you've got an impressive array of ministers here. Crucial to this will be you advocating for a strong outcome, particularly with the nations we know that are reluctant, say, for example, on the issue of fossil fuels. What concrete actions will you be taking to bring on board, for example, countries like China, like Russia, and particularly like Saudi Arabia, that we all know has taken a very strong stand up against even phasing down fossil fuels?
I can assure you that I have been engaging with everyone and with all parties, including relevant stakeholders represented by NGOs, civil society, and many other observers, as well as businesses and industry. So I can comfortably say I did not leave any stone unturned that can help facilitate my drive, my commitment for the highest possible ambition ever coming out of a COP. And I certainly hope that we will agree, or the parties will agree, and present a recommendation to the presidency on language at this COP on fossil fuels that includes renewable energy and energy efficiency. In line, of course, with what I said earlier, a just, fair, equitable, responsible, and orderly transition. Given the approach we have taken, and allow me to say, the political will and the support from the leadership in the host country, and our ability to convene what we are all experiencing here in Dubai at Cop28, and our ability to receive such an overwhelming positive response from the ministers beside me in helping us drive the maximum ambition, I am quite confident that something special is going to come out of this COP.
The developing countries are saying, Dr. Sultan, that the issue of technology, there's a tendency by the developed countries or industrialized countries, particularly the G7, to dump the technology on developing countries. They are not transferring skills. And these countries are the ones that are struggling in terms of catching up with the developed countries who are industrialized, and they use the resources of the developing countries, particularly regions such as Sub-Sahara, to be where they are. What can we expect in terms of emphasizing the importance of technology transfer? And finally, on the way it's structured, developing countries are saying, we don't have money. If we have to repay those loans, some of the countries, they won't even afford. It's equal to their own GDPs. What can we expect from that front?
This, in fact, goes hand in hand with what the COP28 presidency has been trying to nurture. We can no longer only view climate change as a burden or as a problem or as a challenge. We must turn that narrative and change it into an opportunity, because indeed it is an opportunity. It can be seen as the new industrial revolution. It can be a new economic development program that will help create new jobs, new industries, new revenue streams, and of course ensure sustainability and sustainable socio-economic development across the globe. But to do that, we need to take a step back, we need to be realistic, we need to be pragmatic, and we need to be comprehensive and holistic in our approach. And we need to cover the whole value chain. So it cannot only be finance. Policy is in fact a critical success factor. So the regulatory framework that is custom tailored to cater for the different national circumstances of each region or each country or each industry. And then finance must be made available, accessible, and affordable, not only by making pledges, by ensuring that the mechanisms that will allow for those who need it are easy for them to tap into, and ensure the delivery of this money on a timely basis. And then we talk about capacity building. Capacity building is essential. You cannot go through this transition if you don't invest in human capital. Human capital is going to be a building block of going from where we are into the new future. That is coupled with the ability of being able to transfer technology, but not obsolete technology, technology that is new, that is modern, that will build on advancements that have already been accomplished, and by applying scale and capital in the developing world, and that is where it is really needed the most.
Can I
That
just,
is our view.
quickly chip in, because what Dr. Sultan Al Jaber is saying here is exactly what makes me optimistic. And I am optimistic because industrialized countries are now reporting reduced emissions, not because they stopped growing, but because the new technologies are coming online, which has cut the link between economic growth and emission growth. So it works. And the good news is for developing countries is that most of these new technologies are actually allowing for less expensive energy, not more expensive energy. Because solar power, for instance, will beat coal power in most countries, and particularly those that have a lot of sun. However, you need to get to the investment. You need technology, you need the investments, you need to get the grids. So there is definitely a point about technology transfer, competence transfer, regulatory transfer of solutions, but most countries will be smart enough, I think, to choose the cheaper option over the more expensive option. And the new tends to be less expensive than the old in the long run. You just have to get to the long run, and that's why all these themes are so deeply connected, and this is what makes me optimistic, because it's actually going to be better, cleaner, and cheaper to be a modern economy than an old-fashioned economy.
And allow me to add, in an effort to help address that gap, we created a custom-tailored climate finance vehicle to act as a catalytic tool. Altera, the $30 billion announced by His Highness the President on the first day. It was created to do just that, to help bridge the gap, to help capacity building, to help ensure that we are able to apply scale and capital in bridging the gap and going through the transition. We practice what we preach, and when we commit, we deliver.